welcome back to another episode of the What Was That podcast. I'm Jazzy.
And I'm Addi.
Labor Day weekend is right around the corner, and I will be celebrating by not laboring.
Love that for you. I will be celebrating in the water by getting my float on.
In the water, like deep water?
Why are you asking?
I'm just hoping and praying that you have a better time than some of these Redditors. Bada boom, story one, let's get into it. Who's joking around? Not us.
They're gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, what happened? Yeah. You guys, everybody comments on this video.
It's been a long weekend. I'm sleepy.
They're like, are you guys okay? No, we're not.
Story one. People who spend days, weeks, or months at sea. What's the creepiest or most unsettling thing you've seen or has happened out there? So this is a story from my dad. He spent 14 years in the U.S. Navy, serving abroad in a nuclear fast attack submarine. This story is more unsettling than it is creepy. He and his boat were deployed into the North Sea, and about a week into their voyage, one of the senior enlisted crew members died of a heart attack. Well, submarines have very tight operational security, which means once they go under the water, they won't come up unless it's an emergency or they reach a U.S. naval base. So when this guy died only a week into their operation, they only had one choice: put him in the freezer. So there was a dead member of the crew in the freezer for nearly 2 months. Oh, and because they had to clear out the room to fit him, everyone on board was ordered to eat triple servings of ice cream or it would go bad.
Okay, would somebody dying not be considered an emergency?
I mean, I guess it depends on what your mission is. They might be like, he's already dead, so.
I feel like that's like a safety hazard for everyone if they're storing him with the food. I don't know if I believe this. I don't know if military people chime in. Would this actually happen? I feel like an emergency would be like one of three things, and somebody dying, I think.
So my take is going to sound a lot meaner, and I don't know if I'm sorry about that. But, like, depending on what your mission is, there's so many other things at play. And I could see why they're like, okay, he's already dead. We'll get him to where we need to go, but we can't abandon everything we're doing.
Yeah.
It's more, it's like...
But you have to think of
one individual
food
versus everything else. And it doesn't, like, not all of their food has to be from the freezer.
No, but I'm sure
they're like, okay, we can eat pasta.
Yeah.
Like, we can eat pasta.
I don't know. 2 months seems like a really long time for that. I don't know. I have a really hard time believing that they were like, yeah, keep a dead guy in the freezer for 2 months. I don't know. That's just me. I'm military people.
I'm not saying it's not wild, but I am saying... depending on what you're doing, there's bigger things at play.
Oh my God. I don't know.
It's like saving one person instead of saving the whole city.
Yeah, but you could be risking all of the people on board by getting a foodborne illness by this guy in the freezer.
But like I said, you just don't eat the food in the freezer. I'm sure there's other food.
2 months? 2 months of food for
you have a pantry,
fish?
Right?
I've never been in a submarine.
It was like, you have other food, canned food. That's not in the freezer.
But... that's a long time.
Yeah.
I could be like a week I'd be like, okay, yeah. I can maybe believe that. 2 months.
I don't know how long submarine missions are. So
I need to hear from other military people. I want to know what their causes of emergency are, if that's not one of them.
Probably the submarine being damaged.
I think submarines are my biggest fear.
I would hate it.
Yeah. Of all water vessels.
Yeah.
I don't like boats to begin with, really. I don't like cruise ships. I'm not a big, I'll go on a speedboat for a little bit, but I think if I were in a submarine, I'd crack. And,
I definitely would. I'm not built for
everyone on board.
Well, then you'd have so many people in the freezer. You don't have room for that.
Yeah, but then at that point, it's like I have months of food. Ew, yikes.
Yeah, no, because, like, with someone dying like this, depending on what they're doing, submarines like stealth, all of that stuff, coming up could put everything in jeopardy that they're trying to do.
Story 2, a nautical ghost story from my sailor uncle. I was just talking to my uncle, who is a retired sailor, and he told me a story that I felt was perfect for this subreddit. My uncle used to work on board the Great Lakes freighter, the SS Arthur M. Anderson, and they would haul iron ore and limestone across the Great Lakes. One day at around 7 p.m. in November 2007, they were crossing Lake Superior on their way to Cleveland, Ohio, when they started to receive distress calls on their radio from an unknown vessel claiming to be the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald famously sank in 1975, taking all 29 crewmen with it. Well, he said, at first they all thought it was some kind of distasteful prank, until they checked the radar and found that there were no other ships around for at least 70 nautical miles, and the range on the radios was only 60 nautical miles. He said that the voice they heard from the radio described a heavy storm and high winds, and that they were having a hard time holding their own. My uncle said you could hear true fear in the man's voice over the radio, but the thing was, there was no storm at all. In fact, the water was calm and the night was clear. At around 8 p.m., my uncle describes the stress calls on the radio to come to an abrupt stop, leaving the whole room in a terrifying silence, and the radio stayed quiet for the rest of the night. Nobody was able to sleep that night, haunted by what they had witnessed. When it came down to it, there was a sense of irony in this event, being as not only is the ship my uncle was on, the SS Arthur M. Anderson, the sister ship to the Edmund Fitzgerald, but it was also the last ship to make contact with the Edmund Fitzgerald in 1975 when she sank. Could my uncle and his shipmates have actually made contact with the ghost of the crew? Could my uncle and his shipmates have actually made contact with the ghosts of the crew of the Edmund Fitzgerald, or could there be another explanation to this event? We'll never know, but it made one of the creepiest stories I've ever heard.
Boom, straight up haunting, residual haunting. This is ghosts, no other notes. Thank you so much for writing that.
That's spooky.
Yeah.
Lake Superior and like Lake Michigan and like the Great Lakes are super, super deadly.
Really?
Which is crazy to think about because they're just lakes.
Yeah.
But they're massive and they're deep. They're like super, super deep. I think that, and I could be lying out of my ass, but I think there are like more ship go water down.
Shipwreck?
Yep.
Okay.
In Lake Superior than like, I think the ocean. Let me.
I don't want it to be true, but like that's an interesting fact if it is, right?
No, I lied.
So don't use that at trivia.
No,
but there's still a lot though, right?
There's a lot. There is a lot
more than you would think for a lake.
Shipwrecks in the Great Lakes. Like, yeah, you wouldn't think that big old boats going across the Great Lakes would have any issues, but there are a lot of shipwrecks.
Yeah.
In the Great Lakes, and there's a lot of ghost ships at the bottom of the Great Lakes.
That's crazy. Yeah. Shipwrecks are so scary to me. One of my fascinations as a child was the Titanic.
Yeah, felt
very into that. To the point, this is also not good that I would do, but I was a child. When I would be at the swimming pool after my swimming lessons, I would be like hanging on the side of the pool and scooting around. I'd play Titanic, and I'd be like, okay, we have to escape the flooding waters.
It would also be that thing of trying to hold your breath for as long as you could to see if you would be able to.
Yeah, I had asthma. I would die. I learned that from an early age.
Yeah,
I cannot hold my breath for that.
I can't hold my breath. My holding of breath has gotten way worse as an adult. Yeah. Like, here, let's do it together.
I was about to say we should do it. Okay.
Ready? Okay, that was like 42 seconds.
So we got 42 seconds to make it out of the Titanic before we die. I think we'll be fine.
People who can hold their breath underwater for like 3 minutes.
Insane to me.
How is that possible?
I think Juno can hold her breath for a long time because she was doing free diving. I don't know if she still is, but she was like practicing that.
Interesting, yeah. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. that's baffling to me
Yeah.
that people can do that.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the lungs of a functioning human being. That would be very scary. What is the difference between a nautical mile and a regular mile?
I want to know that too, because I was like, yes, the nautical miles.
Yeah.
How far?
It's like a 5K actually means 3-something miles.
Right. Okay, so it's a mile plus some change.
Okay.
Is it because of... Oh, hi,
Can
Reddit.
someone explain a nautical mile? Explain it to me like I'm 5, please.
Okay, so someone did explain it, but I'm not smart enough to understand what they're saying.
Perfect. I guess we'll never know.
It's because the Earth is a circle.
Cool. Gotcha.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, damn, that's like pretty crazy. If you know how to explain it to me like I'm 5, do that in the comments.
Yeah, no, that would be scary. That's also another that reason, not I mean in specific, but also in specific reason of getting something over a radio frequency that is not there. I think about that in like fire watch towers. If you ever think of that, or like lighthouses.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think about that way more often than makes sense because I'm never going to work in a fire watch tower and I'm never gonna work in a lighthouse, but
2 years from now.
but I think about that a lot. I think about if I did work in one, I'm like, oh, the only way that you see, this is why we need to make horror movies, because I'm like, if you did work, you just keep getting like random like ghost calls on your
on your
radio all night, and it's just like people who have died there before and other things that have happened. But yeah, that would be
trademark.
that would be very, very, very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ocean's scary to me.
The ocean
I just
is
like
so scary.
the North Sea TikToks, they're like, oh yeah, it's not scary if you don't have the Pirates of the Caribbean song on it. I'm like, it's still scary when you have Nicki Minaj over it. Honestly, like that wave is still huge.
Yeah, it doesn't matter like what you put over it. I'm still not listening. I'm not hearing it. I'm looking at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for a while, I'll like put something on in the background for a little bit. It was Breaking Amish. And then I started getting like too invested. I was like, okay, we got to switch our background show. And I switched it to that like Alaskan crab fisher show, Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
Insane. So such a I shout out to them for doing that job. That is scary.
Yeah, if you see stuff like the Drake Passage, you know what I'm talking about?
My brain went to like Kiki, do you love me? I was like, what is happening?
No, it's the passage between I believe like the tip of Argentina and the South Pole. Am I right? I am.
And, yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Big brain over here. Did you do good in geography?
I guess I did okay. Yeah, but
A+.
it is the currents between the two oceans are meeting, so that they're obviously two different temperatures. So they make this incredibly deadly passageway for boats to go through and ships to go through.
Yeah.
Like, it is incredibly dangerous. And, I mean, that's a way around for a lot of people. So ships go through there a lot. But I've seen videos of people on cruise ships going through the Drake Passage, and it's scary. Those boats are like this.
Nope.
No. Couldn't catch me dead. You'd have to... Somebody's to me! Like,
yeah.
No.
Did you watch Triangle of Sadness?
Nope.
That movie's wild, but yeah, they're on a cruise and it starts like, and everyone gets like violently ill from the motion sickness. It's one of the grossest scenes I've seen in a movie.
No.
Yeah. But that would be me. I get sick, like,
Yeah.
on a smooth car ride.
Same.
So on a cruise ship?
Yeah. When I went on a cruise, I had to carry around ginger chews with me everywhere because I get so motion sick.
Yeah.
And we were in a center cabin, too, so there was no windows. So it was like, I laid there every night and was just like...
Yeah, no, that doesn't... Yeah.
No, I could never be on Sweet Life on deck.
Yeah.
Living on a cruise ship for that long, there's no way.
One of my friends is on a cruise right now, her and her sister. And it looks like they're having such a great time because they're, like, going, like, to all these, like, different, like, ports and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'd be throwing up violently.
Yeah.
Wasted on me.
Yeah, it's not a great time.
Yeah.
Gabby loves cruises and she always wants to get everybody to go on a cruise. I'm like, I would try to go on a cruise again if it was like a Virgin Voyage cruise because no kids are allowed.
Yeah, I can do no kids.
Yeah, and no kids, and then you can get like a really nice room with a balcony, and they've come out with a lot of really nice things for motion sickness because when I went on my cruise, like all I had was ginger chews and they were fine. I was fine, thankfully. But yeah,
the glasses.
Yeah, people, yeah, you look like a fucking loser walking around. Everybody's
It's like double fisting Bloody Marys with your seasick glasses.
Did you ever see the movie Poseidon? Is that what it was called?
I don't think so.
I think it's called Poseidon, but it's a movie where all these people are on a cruise ship and it tilts upside down, and it like goes upside down. Yes.
Yep, 2006.
Yeah, I saw that movie when I was a kid, and that scared the absolute motherfuck out of me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'll never go on a boat ever.
Yeah.
It was so spooky. They literally, like, they have to find their way out, but the cruise ship is upside down. So they're trying to get to the top of the cruise ship while it's actively, like, sinking underwater.
Yeah. A nightmare.
Yeah, it's an actual... I mean, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I don't like ocean horror movies. I don't do anything that has to do with the ocean. I don't... Yeah. I will say this once, and I'll say it every day for the rest of my life. I don't like the ocean. Yeah. I think people should stay out of it. It doesn't want people in it. Yeah. I think it's proven that time and time again. Just stay out of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. I buy that, yeah.
Yeah.
I like sitting on the beach and looking at the ocean.
Yeah.
But I don't really need to, like...
But if I'm going to sit on the beach, I need something that's not going to let the sand get on me, because I hate sand.
Oh, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I hate the sand. I like the sound of the ocean. I don't like the feel of the water's icky. So it's all just a sensory nightmare.
It is actually the worst place for you to go.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it so much. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Get this girl to a mountain.
Yeah.
Story 3. There's something happening by the lake in our town. My friend Jonathan has always been a bit of a weird one. You see, we grew up in a small town in northwest Louisiana and never really had much to do, so I oftentimes find myself spending hours after school just hanging out playing video games at his place. Either that or we'd be watching some, at the time, new iDubbbz or Filthy Frank videos on YouTube. During these almost daily visits, our conversations would drift into some odd places. Jonathan had always been the one to tell me about paranormal stories that he claimed happened to him. Things like seeing shadow figures in the corners at night and hearing footsteps up and down the hall of his bedroom. He'd even gone so far as to say he questioned if something supernatural had been following him. While most of our other friends who stayed the night with him would admit seeing some weird things, some of them even saying they didn't want to stay the night again, I, on the other hand, never saw anything out of the ordinary. Quite honestly, I found myself questioning if Jonathan was just yanking my chain with... yanking my chain is such a silly phrase. And with half his stories, at least that was until the summer of 2015. One day, I was over at Jonathan's house just playing video games and talking as usual, when the conversation shifted to the paranormal. He decided to tell me a story that I'd never heard before. Turning off the game we were playing, he took a much more serious tone. Like whatever he was about to tell me carried a lot more weight than his other ghost stories. Jonathan told me that when he was younger, maybe 11 or 12 years old, he lived at this old house on the other side of town by the lake. Now, this area, despite being directly on the lake, was still a relatively rural and spread out neighborhood. He, our friend Hunter, and another boy whose name I can't recall were all playing inside the house, while his parents were at work and his sister was at daycare, so as far as they knew, they were alone. At one point, the unnamed boy sees something looking through one of the windows. He tells the others, and all of them look, but whatever it was long gone. Regardless, the boy who saw it is legitimately unnerved and asks the others to stay away from the window. Jonathan and Hunter try to assure him that it was probably just a raccoon or some other animal. Still, the other boy is adamant whatever he saw was no ordinary animal. Now curious, Jonathan and Hunter decide to go outside to see what the third boy was talking about. He begs them not to, but they decide to go out anyway. With the other boy remaining in the house, Jonathan and Hunter began surveying the backyard and didn't see anything. They go to the tree line over by the lake shore, but everything seems normal. At this time, they hear a noise coming from inside the old boathouse. Whatever was in there sounded like it just knocked something over. Jonathan and Hunter decided to make their way to the pier and into the small building. They looked around and didn't see anything at first, but they noticed something moving on the small storage loft above them. When they looked up, they saw a pair of jet black eyes staring back at them. Whatever it was, it had long, thin arms with gray, almost white skin, a large, bulbous head, and not a trace of hair on its body. It didn't move or seem like it wanted to attack, but it just sat there, crouching up and observing them. It was at this point the adrenaline finally kicked in, and the two boys ran screaming from the boathouse. They sprinted up the steps to the back door and slammed it behind them. Frantically, they began making sure every entrance to the home was locked. But as they did so, they realized their friend was nowhere to be seen. Hunter and Jonathan began combing the house until they finally found him. He was curled up in a fetal position, sobbing in Jonathan's closet. Still in a panic from what they just witnessed, Jonathan and Hunter asked the boy what happened. The boy then said something that made the pair's blood run cold. "You were gone for 2 hours." Jonathan and Hunter looked at each other, their faces devoid of color. As far as they knew, they'd only been gone for no more than 5 minutes. Now, in a complete panic, all three boys decided to close the blinds and curtains to every window in the house. They all split up and started going room to room. It didn't take long for the boys to finish. However, Hunter and the unnamed boy regrouped in the living room. Jonathan was nowhere to be found. They realized the last place they'd seen Jonathan go was his little sister's bedroom, but when he didn't emerge, the two boys knew something was wrong. They considered opening the door to the bedroom, but something in their gut told them to stay away from that door, so they did. They sat there, waiting for hours in complete silence, too afraid to speak. They waited on anything to happen, even just a sound to come from that room and let them know that Jonathan was all right. The boys would have to wait for 4 hours to finally hear the thundering sound of panicked footsteps. Jonathan burst into the living room, slamming the door behind him. The boy said he looked completely petrified. However, when they told him how long he'd been gone, his level of fear was somehow able to rise even higher. With his eyes going wide, Jonathan sprinted past his friends and emptied the contents of his stomach into the kitchen trash can. When Jonathan returned, he sat down with the others and waited for his parents to come home. He went on to say, when he went into the bedroom, he made his way over to the window and was about to close the blinds. When he looked down for only a second, and he looked up, he was face to face with that thing. He says he was no more than a foot away from it, with just a glass window separating him from those vacant black eyes and inhumane, expressionless face. He said he looked at it for no more than a second before darting back into the living room. At least that's what he remembers. When Jonathan's parents finally came home, they would immediately question why all of the blinds were down. The boys told them what they had seen, and of course they didn't believe him. But the fear on their faces was undeniable, so they knew something must have happened. They went on trying to tell them that it was probably an animal or a neighborhood kid playing a prank on them. This ultimately did very little to relieve the boys of any fear, but eventually they all just accepted that whatever they had experienced was probably best kept between them. Now, I won't deny the fact that I was rather invested in my friend's story, but I had a hard time believing him. Wanting more, I decided to ask a favor of him. I asked him to get in my car and show me where all of this went down. I could see a little apprehension in his expression, but he eventually relented. It was just after sunset when we made our way to the house, and by the time we had gotten to the other side of town, it was truly night. As we continued to this rural neighborhood, Jonathan directed me down the road. Eventually, we came to a turn with a dead-end sign posted. He tells me to drive to the very last house. As we pull up, we find the property is abandoned, with concrete pads where his old mobile home once sat, and the boathouse being the only things left. The grass was rather tall, definitely well on its way to being totally overgrown. It was probably being maintained by the town or a new property owner who only visited seldomly. I pulled into a small concrete pad just off the street, something cars could use to turn around, and we looked out at the property. Even with my brights on, it was still difficult to see much through the grass. I looked over at Jonathan, and he looked very uneasy. He was constantly fidgeting in his seat, with his shifting gaze scanning the property. I thought for a moment and decided to turn my headlights off, given they weren't doing us much good. Our eyes slowly adjusted to the night, and we could see the lake water at the back end of the property, reflecting the full moon on its surface. We noticed something down by the water but couldn't make out what it was. After a few more seconds, it hit us like a train what we were looking at. There were people. There must have been 20 or so people standing at the lake's edge. There was no mistaking the clear outline of their heads silhouetted by the light shining off the water. All of them just stood there, completely motionless, seeming to stare directly at us. At this time, Jonathan became a complete mess. He started screaming for me to drive, looking like he was on the verge of tears. I obliged as my own heart started pounding and threw the car in reverse, taking off down the road. After making it back to his house, we talked for a while, attempting to calm each other down and come up with rational explanations for what we saw, though it was pretty hard to explain over a dozen people standing there in complete darkness in the middle of nowhere. Eventually, I did end up going back home that night, and Jonathan and I never really talked about it much again. After a few months go by, I ended up hanging out with Hunter at a bonfire. He had moved to a new town a few parishes away, and we didn't run into each other very often. Seeing my opportunity and still wanting to corroborate Jonathan's story, I decided to ask him about the incident at the boathouse. I'll never forget the look on his face when those words left my lips. He went from joking and having a good time to completely pale and deadpan. I almost felt bad, wondering if I'd brought up something he was trying to forget. All he said was, "I'd rather not talk about it." In reality, he didn't need to. That expression told me that whatever happened left a mark on him, and whether or not what Jonathan and I saw was related, we'll never know. Either way, I do know something is going on that property. Okay, so what if the people that they saw were also people trying to have a bonfire and the fire went out?
Yeah.
They're all just standing there being like, where's the lighter?
Yeah, and they see like a pair of headlights come up behind them and they're like, oh, maybe that guy has it. And they start like waving him over and they're like, racing out of there.
Yeah, or it's like a bunch of teenagers on an abandoned property and they're like, is that the cops? Don't move.
Yeah. The description of the thing, the like hairless whatever it was, reminds me of those like short horror movies on TikTok. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
There's people make a lot of like little short horror movies, but a lot of the like monsters are these tall like hairless creatures.
Yeah.
Like one of the ones that I sent you the other day that you didn't watch.
No.
Like the creature at the end of it was like, I can't show you. Is a tall, like, naked creature. Yeah. It starts walking. If it's
gross.
Like, yeah. So, that's what I think of, and that's really scary.
Was that one of the ones where I was like, hey, so I can't watch that. I don't like this.
Yeah. So it's probably good that you didn't. Probably really good that you didn't.
It's funny.
I did think that was funny when I read that. I was like, yeah, it's smart.
Yeah, because the next one too, I was like, again. Anyway, so damn, that is so crazy.
Yeah. Lakes are also super spooky. I would love to at some point, because people talk about it a lot. But Lake Lanier.
Yeah, I was looking for Lake Lanier stories, and I couldn't find one that was like, here's an experience I had, but there's gotta be, right?
Yeah, no, that's literally like, I don't know, I've never been there, but that's all the people on TikTok, whenever you think about haunted lakes, they talk about Lake Lanier.
Mm-hmm.
I will say also Crater Lake in Oregon is also supposedly haunted.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Crater Lake once, and there was just like, it was just ominous. The vibe was really ominous. It's super, super deep. Like the lake is like really, really, really deep. It's supposed to be from like a volcano.
The deepest lake in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wild.
it's spooky. But yeah, lakes are always really creepy. I feel like lakes might be creepier than oceans just in the fact that you can't really see the bottom of the lake in a lot of places.
Right.
And there are so many bodies in lakes that you don't know about. Like the lake that I grew up next to, that's kind of the stigma of the lake is that
Oh my God.
there's just like a lot of bodies in it
Yeah.
because people just drown or people like drop bodies into it. But I remember going for a 4th of July thing when I was in middle school, I think. And that was the first time I ever like glimpsed a body of a person because somebody went into the lake and did not come out, and they pulled her out and like walked past everyone, and I was like, my mom was like, nope,
Don't look.
yeah,
Don't look.
so that was pretty spooky. And I do think about that. And then when I was younger, my dad's dad lived on a lake, and we would go out on the lake a lot, and my dad would always tell us like really spooky ghost stories when we would go out, and it would always freak me out.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's just like just that deep water. And yeah, you're swimming around, you don't have your feet under you. Even if you're like a phenomenal swimmer, I feel like it's not the most natural place for a human to be in. So it's like very vulnerable feeling. And then for something to like just come up from under you and just yoink.
Yeah.
And then that's like even like a fish.
Yeah.
Like some of those like different like catfish and things like that. They're at such an advantage in the water. They fight all you want to. If they want you to go down, you're going down.
Yeah. One of my biggest fears when I was younger was bullhead sharks.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, because they're freshwater and saltwater. And my dad told me that they could swim up the Rio Grande and come into the lakes. And he was like, they find them in the lakes by us all the time.
I would never get in the water.
Yeah, so every single time I got in the water, I'm like looking around because bull sharks are really aggressive. So is there bullhead shark? I think there's bull sharks. But bull sharks are like really aggressive. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like I'm going to swim around in this and I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happened.
Thankfully.
Unless it did and I'm in a different timeline.
I was like, there's multiple timelines. One of the unfortunate timelines.
Can you tell Jasmine and I have partied too much this weekend?
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We live in La Vida Loca. 365 party girls.
Story 4. I encountered sirens at sea last year. This was around a year ago in July 2018. I was on a trip to Goa, India with some of my friends, and we were on this rented yacht in the Arabian Sea/Indian Ocean for the night. A lot of us were drunk as hell except for me. I had to stay away from bottles that day because of a bet with a friend. He bet me around $20 I couldn't go 2 vacation days without drinking or smoking. Early on in the night, some of my more intoxicated friends decided to look out at the vast sea and yelled excitedly that they'd seen mermaids around us, which turned out to be dugongs, a marine animal commonly mistaken for mermaids. This was around 11:30 to 12 at night, and I helped get them back inside with the others. The party had died down around 2 or 3 a.m., and I decided to enjoy the view of the sea with a good late-night snack. I was about halfway through the pack when I noticed that these strange human-like figures coming out of the water, and I, assuming they were actually mermaids seen by my drunk friends, decided to take a closer look. They formed what I think was a circle around my boat and drew closer. Now I could tell that they had long, dark hair, it was a moonlit night, and that they had grayish-white faces. They did not rise very far from the water, and I could only see their shoulders at most. I was still assuming that they were somewhat ugly mermaids in poor lighting, and tried waving at them, at which they all stared in my direction. They began to emit what I now feel was the most ghastly wailing I'd ever heard. It was oddly mesmerizing, and as I inched closer to the railing, I felt a strong urge to join them in the water, but I started to back away when I saw their eyes. They had no irises or any white, they were just plain black. Their mouths seemed to grow in size, and that was when my eyes convinced my ears to not give in. I dropped my chips and pulled away from the railing and fought my urges to jump over. I ran inside, shutting the door behind me, and fell to the ground. Everyone else was asleep, and the wailing just stopped abruptly. I was far too afraid to go outside at this point, so I decided to lose the bet and have a fairly good amount of Henny and rum, plus have a blunt that my friends had left. I passed out, and the next morning no one was missing, so that was good. No one believed me, though, and we had to head back to the hotel in the afternoon. Edit, there was a light from the yacht, too. It wasn't pitch black in there, which I forgot to mention, so yes, I'm sure I got a fairly good look at their faces. And even if you're right about me not being able to see them / hallucinating their appearance, I'm definitely sure the wailing was real.
Okay, manatees.
I'm so glad you said that, because the whole time I was also thinking manatees.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a huge thing that people recognize now that they thought were boom, 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 boom mermaids back in the day. Were manatees.
Yeah, manatees, and then like beluga whales too.
Yeah.
Because if you look at their stomach when they're swimming, they have knees.
They have knees. Yeah, manatees were big for being mistaken for mermaids back in sailor times, because people would joke about.
Yeah, so if you were a sailor time and you saw that body,
You haven't seen a woman in years.
you're like, damn, she got the ab lines. Was that Pilates?
She got that nice She does a nice bar
Like,
class on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize they had like actual knee. No, don't like that. That does look like
I'll
legs.
put it away. But yeah, I could see.
Yeah,
because we were talking about this the other day. How like I just like think I see and hear things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if this was olden times, especially if I ate some moldy bread, I'd be like, yep, I did see that pig floating.
Yeah, I almost feel like the friends got in this guy's head.
Yeah.
That they had already been talking about these creatures in the water, and this guy was like, oh, I see something, and then he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna drink, and I'll use this as an excuse to drink.
Yeah.
No,
that is so funny that's his, like, he's like, that was too much.
Yeah, I'm done. Give
Hennessy.
me that one. Hennessy with rum is wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I see why they made that bet with this person. It's like, maybe you need to take 2 days off.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? God damn it! The wailing definitely could have also been a manatee, because manatees make weird noises.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull up the sounds of the manatee.
Was that the wailing?
Yep. Was that a bunch of them just going? They're excited.
Also, beluga whales make little weird noises too. They're like, you know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I spelled that wrong.
Beluga. Was that not what I was just making?
Where do belugas live? I think in colder areas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of... I liked whales a lot as a kid, too.
Yeah, whales are pretty neat. They're a neat little animal. But it could have been a whale, too.
Could have been a whale.
It could have been a lot of things.
There's all sorts of whales all over the world.
No irises. Ugly mermaids.
Well, yeah, if you saw that, no irises. That's not a necessarily beautiful face for a human to have.
Yeah.
Cute for a whale.
I don't think...
Pretty interesting for a human.
I think mermaids being ugly makes more sense with them being manatees.
Yeah.
Because if you want to imagine that there's a creature that can lure men into the water, then it's going to be pretty, right?
Maybe. In theory, get some sea-bound thirsty men. I think they'll go for anything.
Yeah.
They're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
not
got a
picking and
pocket, I'm
choosing.
into it.
You know what they've done to the sheep. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's what they did to the manatees, too. Do manatees wear hats?
So there's a whole thing about, like, I think it was orca whales wearing fish as hats.
No, manatees do not wear
So it's like maybe the manatees have gotten onto the hat trend.
That's really funny. I did not know that orcas wore hats.
Yeah, they started wearing dead salmon as hats.
Do you wear wigs? I saw that TikTok this morning. I was like, nice.
You probably saw whales.
Yeah, I think you just wanted an excuse to get drunk.
You're like, wow, wasn't this so crazy?
That was so spooky. I need some Hennessy.
That was very scary for me.
Yeah, I'm traumatized.
Get me, daddy.
Give me my Henny and my rum. I'm just bashful. I didn't know. Now I'm bashful.
What do you want from me? Anyway.
Oh, how damn, that's crazy.
I didn't say it was good. I said it got us there. I think I'm going to stay on dry land this Labor Day.
I'm going to float on. Hopefully I'll be all right. But you know what could make you all right? Like, follow, subscribe, comment, shares, all of that. What was that? Yeah. What was that? Underscore the pod. Anywhere that you can find us: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit.
Yeah.
And if you want to send us your own story, you can email us at whatwasthat.thepod@gmail.com.
So I know we said we should avoid water, but we could go to your pool before they close it and play mermaids.
That's fine with me as long as I can get the green tail. So I think that'd be really fun. But wait, what was that?